both vendors and advisors questions around, what is the expected impact of, the new visa regulations or the regime in the US. And while there's still some uncertainty around that, but it seems that a lot of people seem to think that it's just going to result in more outsourcing and more offshore. So rather than, in fact, Infosys just announced yesterday that they were looking to bring down their onshore work by 20%. So they are, again, each organization responds to these stimuli differently, but one of the potential answers or responses could be just increasing the offshoring component in all relationships. So that could obviously, in some ways, would run counter to what the new bill is intended. Now let's look at Europe for a second, right? Europe has obviously gone through its own shares of ups and downs. So while the Western European economies they look like they're starting to recover, but a lot of economies in Southern Europe, so Spain, Portugal, etc., are struggling and will continue to struggle for the foreseeable future. However, a lot of the demand comes from countries such as the UK, France, Japan, UK, France, Germany. They are anyways the largest economies there. So we expect that there's been a lot of cutbacks in a lot of the government services, but we are seeing a number of municipalities looking to outsource core delivery of services. So both utilities are in play as well as other citizen services, which I think represents an opportunity for a hybrid play between some work delivered onshore and some delivered offshore. But aside from that, a slightly more detailed look at both at Germany, UK, and France. So this outlook in Germany is a little bit more positive. Apparently, exports and investments in machines and equipment have gone up recently. But there is some pessimism around the export prospects in Germany. France seems to have an increase in industrial production, so that's obviously good news. But they do need to meet their deficit targets set by EU, so that might restrict some of the expense programs. UK obviously has grown slightly better than expected, but there's a lot of concerns around the regulatory environment. So regulations in financial services, etc., are expected to tighten further. So this may have an impact in offshoring. Looking at the emerging markets, obviously you have medium to high growth in a number of different countries across the various regions. So you have, as I mentioned previously, the usual suspects: China, India is obviously uncertain. I'm a little bit more pessimistic on India as usual, but we just can't seem to get anything. There are Nigeria, Indonesia, Kenya, South Africa, and obviously Brazil and Chile, Peru, etc. are all excellent locations that are just on the cusp of huge customer growth, outsourcing services. So that is something that. Sorry, I'm rushing through some of these slides, and we can pick these up in separate discussions. In summary, if you were to look at the three major regions, if I group the emerging markets that way, we've had Saudi Arabia, interestingly, and India, give out a lot of outsourcing contracts in the recent years. In fact, China is number 3 if you look at Asia. However, a lot of African countries are starting to experience the customer-focused revolution. So Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and in Latin America, Brazil, Chile, Argentina are the countries to watch out for. As you look at the supplier side of things, so I'll explain what these graphs are. The pulse survey that we conduct every quarter, we also ask suppliers what's their view of their margin pressure, etc. So it seems that in the most recent quarter, suppliers say that, okay, things are looking back up, so pipelines are growing. Just bear in mind that suppliers by definition are optimistic, right? So they always say 75%. So we look at this more directionally. I think one of the other speakers suggested indicatively rather than directionally. So you obviously have to look at the relative optimism compared to what they suggested in the past, right? So they are still excited about their pipeline growth. They expect demand to grow in the next few quarters. And they're actually saying that the pricing pressure has eased a little in some of their recent engagements, which obviously has two potential meanings. One could be the fact that there's a new entrant coming in and buying the business. So they are starting to possibly see that stabilize a little, but we'll see how that goes. But what are the customers saying, right? So we conduct these service provider perception performance surveys and satisfaction surveys on an ongoing basis. Our most recent survey, and this is actually a very summarized view, it's an average score that across all suppliers given by clients. So this is what the clients are saying. So the least amount of satisfaction is on the innovation that the suppliers bring to the table, right? So there are a lot of concerns around innovation, risk sharing, governance, and flexibility, right? So that's what the clients are most concerned about. Now, if you look at what the service providers are saying about clients, sorry, I'm just too fast there. They're actually also bringing up some of the same points. So they're, when you ask about what are some of the challenges to improving the offshoring and outsourcing capabilities at clients, so governance and transition are the biggest pain points that service providers face. Obviously, in addition to that, there are concerns around change management, etc. Right? So, both sides are, referring to some of the same points, but I think some of these just represent lessons learned in terms of how the industry, needs to mature to the next level, where the initial transaction is just one part of the story. It's really how do we sustain that relationship. I know I'm really short of time, so I'm just going to make a couple of final remarks. One of the points I wanted to make was around the industry and functional growth. So from a functional perspective, if you exclude IT, a lot of demand is going to grow in F&A as well as bundled services. So we are going to see a lot of platform-based work that is going to come out, and where services are going to be bundled with other processes. So the era of traditional kind of single tower type services is something that we should expect will plateau pretty soon. I had some comments on locations in terms of what are some of the emerging and exciting locations, but I think I'll leave that to the panelists to discuss. So I guess if I were to just make some closing remarks, I expect that, or we expect that there are new pockets of opportunities that are going to come up. There are more around integrated platform-based deals, in a number of domains, which are going to be important. We are going to see, clients are requesting or demanding better governance of relationships, more innovation and proactive innovation, not just innovation, but proactive innovation coming from the service provider community. And we're also going to see a network of locations. So I think, again, TJ made the point around it not just being an India versus Philippines versus China story. It's likely going to be around a network of centers across the world with different and unique capabilities, but really playing together rather than almost competing with each other. And we are going to see this footprint expand into Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities worldwide. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the consumer revolution is literally just beginning in countries in Africa. I was in South Africa last week, and it's amazing the penetration of mobile services. However, a lot of call centers are still in-house, right? So they are still using fairly rudimentary technologies and approaches. but a lot of that could change with help from professional third-party outsourcing companies. So I think the market's out there, and the future looks fairly promising and exciting. Thank you.
Viral Thakur from KPMG India, thank you so much for your insights on the global economic outlook and how it impacts the contact center industry. So, from a global perspective, we now shift to home. What is the outlook for the Philippines? Our next speaker does not need any introduction. He is known by all 100 million Filipinos because he is an acknowledged guru in the field of economics. I will not read anymore all of his achievements and what he has done for the country. Ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, let us all please welcome on stage the Director of the Center for Research and Communication in Manila from the University of Asia and the Pacific, Dr. Bernardo Villegas.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think both the venue and the timing of the ICCube are perfect. First, it is being held in Cebu. And for those of you who have been around for a long time, you will remember that even in the direst moments of the Marcos dictatorship, Cebu was always growing 2-3 percentage points higher than the national average. In fact, there was Cebu. And in fact, the Cebuanos were so careful to present Cebu not as part of the Philippines, but as an island in the Pacific. So I'm sure you remember that, this one was here. And in fact, there was even a time when Lito Esmeño was governor at that time, wanted to declare the Republic of Cebu. Now, the whole Philippines has become a Cebu. And you don't have to believe me because my reputation is an over-optimist prophet of boom. Just listen to all the outsiders, whether it's Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, where it's Goldman Sachs with IMF, ADB, World Bank, Fitch, Standard & Poor, they're running out of superlatives. The new Asian tiger, the breakout nation,